NewsWorld is proudly brought to you by Canon.
I'm seriously considering dropping my first name and using my middle name. My parents are living in Western Australia. If that's not a conflict of terms, I think Clive is silly. I've had to put up with it longer than you have, so I think in future we might just refer to my middle name. So if a new name pops up on the screen, it's still me, living in the same old tired body. Well, good evening. Welcome to a late edition. I think there's a message here from the Fairfaxes to the Robertsons. A late edition of NewsWorld for tonight.
And welcome to VHS Revue. I'm David M. Green and I'm fine with that. Today it's another tape from the family archives of TV's Dan Ilic. Like the last one, this one is also from July 1986, but this time features the Channel 7 late night news program NewsWorld with the lovably loose Clive Robertson. Over the years I've been making VHS Revue, I found a few Clive Robertson clips, mostly at the end of a tape, no doubt recorded by accident. I like him. He's kind of in a league of his own. His deadpan delivery and tendency to go off on tangents is really quite bizarre for the host of what is a genuine news show.
Commonwealth Secretary-General Sunny Ramphal says Pakistan is to rejoin the Commonwealth on October the 1st after a 17-year absence. We hope they have a note. Pakistan left the Commonwealth in 1972, protesting against the admission of Bangladesh, which had been East Pakistan until breaking away in 1971 after a civil war. But you knew that, didn't you? I just sort of tell you that to remind you that you knew that. Of course you do. A lot of what we do is redundant here. I mean, you could be asleep now and I'm still doing this. Why don't you ring me up and tell me to stop? I keep doing it. Silly, isn't it? Still to come on this programme, Africa. Too many people, not enough votes.
Sometimes it's like he doesn't even want to be there. And in fact, he didn't. When he reluctantly agreed to host NewsWorld in 1985, he mucked around like that because he was actually trying to get fired. But then his loose approach turned out to be a ratings success and he was trapped. So there's a lesson there about how you can get ahead simply by not giving a f***. Although if you're a doctor or an operator of heavy machinery, that might not be the best approach for career advancement in your field. But hey, it worked for Clive.
Good evening. Thank you for waiting up. You know, our programming department, if you're watching in the east coast of Australia, programming department feels so guilty every time they make us start late. They send flowers, women, alcohol to make us feel better. And I think it almost makes amends.
But enough of that. Let's VHS Revue.
Do you prefer mahogany or pine?
Not
When it came to undertaking, no one knew more about the subject than Sherman Wormster.
Granite or marble?
Trouble was, that's all he knew about. Then Sherman discovered the Sydney Morning Herald, Australia's most informative newspaper. Now he reads it every day and is able to converse on just about any subject
By stereometry. Oh, of course.
with just about anybody.
But then the cubist...
There's more to life with the Sydney Morning Herald.
Although he does go on about the obituaries a bit. In 1986, Sydney still had an afternoon tabloid newspaper, The Sun. Here's an ad with some of the next day's stories, one of which feels just a little out of place.
Now there's a brighter, better value Sun. How did the royal romance of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson begin? Tomorrow's Sun reveals where Andrew and Sarah first met, how they met, and how they fell in love. Also in tomorrow's Sun, you could win a romantic dream weekend at Sydney's Hilton International Hotel. Plus, the Sun has a special report on the Killer Kids, the frightening story of children as young as 5 who have already murdered. It's all in tomorrow's brighter, better value Sun.
Oh, finally, none of this grim and dreary child murder coverage like in the other papers. Probably shouldn't look directly at the Sun anyway. And if you thought that was bright, brace yourself.
What a difference the day makes.
In Woman's Day this week, reads a dramatic story of an amazing trek by a courageous mother and her children stranded barefoot in the outback. Fergie's designer talks to us about that dress. We visit Rod Stewart's luxury beach house hideaway and show you how to look your best in pants. Plus, there's a bonus 8-page pull-out guide to parenting, all in Women's Day this week.
What a difference the day makes to you.
Women's Day, which comes out weekly. Not to be confused with Women's Weekly, which comes out monthly. Then there's Cosmopolitan, which hasn't come out here since 2018. In 1986, though, it was still going strong.
Are you looking for the perfect husband? August Cosmopolitan examines men and their careers and tells who make the best husbands. There's an exciting 10-page sneak preview of next season's stunning swimwear and how money and the rock video industry are linked. Are you sexually assertive? Cosmopolitan explains when it's okay to make the first move. Cosmopolitan, August issue, out now.
I hope they didn't recommend marrying a magazine editor.
Presenting La Deliziosa complete pasta dishes, like La Deliziosa Lasagna. Delicious al dente pasta, with delicious mozzarella cheese and delicious bolognese sauce. Close your eyes, and you're in Italy. La Deliziosa, simply delicious Italian food.
Yes, just like Michelangelo used to make. Wouldn't be his last supper either. That was Da Vinci.
Here comes Holden Barina.
Barina, get you anywhere you want to go. Barina, it's a car that will go, go, go.
It was like a dream. It's gonna set the scene.
Take you for a ride, it's a feature-packed machine. Barina, that is price you want to know. Barina, it's a car that will go, go, go. Barina, baby Barina.
Holden Barina gives you more run for your money.
And I think we have some footage of a Barina attempting to follow the Roadrunner across a large gorge. Yeah. Also, be wary of those painted-on tunnels.
Good evening. At a lot of motels, you can find the staff less than friendly.
39.
Even downright reluctant. And it's hardly surprising. After all, it's just a job.
Check. And let's leave.
At Homestead Motor Inns, the people who run the place own the place. So they make it their business to be friendly.
Good evening. Spot of dinner or swim in the pool? Straight to bed, perhaps.
Homestead. Spend the night with someone friendly.
That's what motels are for. Time now for...
Hey, fatties, this is the go. Synovus Nutriplan, $1.
Introducing Olympus Digital Mu.
Yes, it's can't do that anymore, and 1986 was a long time ago.
No other bread is made quite like Bornhoffen. There's flaxseed, wheat, wholemeal, malted grain, buckwheat, bran, and considerable concentration and skill. The result is no other bread has quite the same aroma and taste of Bornhoffen. Man does not live on bread alone, but with Bornhoffen he comes close.
The abundant cleavage does seem a tad gratuitous, although the ad does show a man baking, which is a non-traditional gender role, so maybe it's all cancelled out. Yeah, probably can't do that anymore. Also noteworthy is that ad is actually from 1981 and was still airing on TV 5 years later. Don't see that commercial longevity too much now. And one more thing, That actor is the late Paul Chubb, who also stars in one of my favourite Australian comedies, 1994's The Roly-Poly Man. Do check it out if you get a chance. Next.
You haven't caught the flu, you should be back in bed, but you have to soldier on.
Soldier on with Codral, soldier on. Soldier on. Now with Codral relief, you soldier on. Soldier on. Cold and flu won't get us down, 'cause with Codral you can soldier on.
Codral cold and flu tablets. Use only as directed.
You can soldier on.
I don't know about can't, but you certainly shouldn't do that anymore. It's that persevering culture of the she'll be right attitude that led to thousands of deaths during the COVID-19 pandemic. And after a brief flirtation with the novel idea that sick workers should get paid to stay at home until they're better, it's refreshing to see Australians are once again soldiering on regardless of the consequences.
No pleasing some people, is there?
And finally, here's possibly the most disturbing cartoon I've ever set eyes upon, and I've seen Super Jail.
Remember your first taste of Kentucky Fried Chicken, Charlie?
Sure do, Fredrick. Do I detect the smell of chicken?
Indeed you do. Kentucky Fried Chicken, cooked to the Colonel's secret recipe of 11 herbs and spices.
It's delicious.
Naturally.
Kentucky Fried Chicken will never be beaten. Cooked so special, it's all I'll be eating.
It's the herbs and spices that make it taste great.
No, it's a special way it's cooked.
It's the
Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's made special to taste great.
Finger-licking controversy. I don't know what's worse, the Confederate uniform or the fact I'm pretty sure that's a chicken eating chicken. So slavery or cannibalism? It's a fine line. Yeah, hi, Future David here. I recently included that KFC ad in a thing I wrote for The Guardian, and several people pointed out it's not actually a chicken, but rather a chicken hawk, which is a predatory bird that apparently does eat the occasional chicken. So, although not technically cannibalism, it's still a little too close on the evolutionary tree for my liking, and even without that, you still got the slavery thing, so can't do that anymore. Okay, I'll return you now to the closing joke. Of course, we know what KFC would say about it now.
I don't care.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much to Dettol Bacteria Wipes and David M. Green, NFG Productions.